Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. So today I'll be making this Gobi chana curry, which I made loads of time before, so I thought I might as well show you how to make it. So the main ingredients is a cauliflower and chickpeas, and it comes from an old book. It's the Curry Secrets. It was inside of the magazine, so it was one of the book that you get with the magazine. So I'm just going to show you what ingredients you'll be needing if you want to make it with me. And these are the ingredients that I'll be using. So it's asked for a can of chickpeas, but because I tend to buy my chickpeas in a big pack and then I cook them all in a one go. So I've got frozen chickpeas here, so that's about 1 tin. Then the recipe asks for a spring onion, but I never use a spring onion. I always use a brown onion. So 1 brown onion, 1 can of chickpeas, 1 head of cauliflower, a passata, then I've got a little bit of granulated sweetener, fry light, 2 peppers, 1 red and 1 green, garlic granules, ground ginger, and a curry powder. I use the mild one. And let me just prepare the veg and show you the next step. So now I've got my vegetable ready. I cut the cauliflower to little florets. If it was a really big one, I just cut it in half. And then I chopped up the peppers. Because I'll be adding it all at the same time, I just add it to one bowl. And then I chopped up onion. And then I prepared the spices here because I'll be adding them all at the same time, so it's easier if I have them on a side here. So that one is 2 teaspoons of a curry powder, 2 teaspoons of a ginger, and 2 teaspoons of a garlic granules. So now I'm just going to take the fry light, spray the pan, well actually put the heat on. First, spray the pan with the fry light and wait until it heats up a little, and then we do the other step. Now the saucepan is nice and warm and the fry light is sizzling, so I'm just going to add the onion and give it a good stir, and I'm just going to fry it for about 2 to 3 minutes, and I'll come back to you in 3 minutes time. So now the onion's been cooking for the last 3 minutes, so it's nicely getting soft. And what I'll do now, I'm just going to add the spices and give that one a good stir, so make sure they heat up through and then they blend in together. Oh, I can smell the ginger. Oh. Give them a good stir. That smells really, really good. And then once I've done that, I'm just gonna add the vegetable. So let me just add the vegetable and show you the other step. So now I added the vegetable and I'm just gonna stir it in and then cook it for about 3 minutes. And then I'll come back to you. Just make sure it doesn't burn. The spices tend to burn at the bottom. If it starts to burn, just put a little bit of water underneath of it. Now I've been cooking it for the last 3 minutes and I made sure I stirred it through properly. So you can see all the cauliflower is covered with the spices. And what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to add the passata. And what I tend to do, I'm just going to rinse the bottom of it with a little bit of water. Yeah, so I added some water, just going to pour that in. And then I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of a granulated sweetener, just to get the sharpness from the tomatoes away. And I'm going to give that a good stir. So let me just mix that through properly and I'll come back to you in a second. So I covered all the vegetable with the passata, and what I would do now, as the recipe says, bring it to the boil and cook it for 10 minutes. So you put the lid on and cook it for 10 minutes, and then it will be, well, then you add the chickpeas. But because I'm using a frozen chickpeas, so I'll have to do it slightly different. So what I'm going to do at this step, I'm going to add my chickpeas because they are still frozen and they'll defrost. So what I'll do, I'll add the lid on, put the heat to the high, bring it to the boil, and then once it's been boiling, I'll cook it for 10 minutes and I'll come back to you after that. The curry has been cooking for the last 5 minutes, and I stirred it through just to get the chickpeas all around the dish. So you can see the chickpeas has melted now. Well, they kind of defrosted, and I just stirred it through, and I'm just going to cook it for another 5 minutes. Just going to put the lid back on, and I'll come back to you in 5 minutes. So it's been cooking for the last 5 minutes. Let me have a look at it. Yeah, it looks good. And just have a look. Yeah, it looks ready to be served up. So the cauliflower, it's got a little bit still crunched in it, so it's not as soft. And yeah, and that's just how I like it. So let me just turn off the heat and show you how I plate it up. And this is what it looks like once it's been plated up. So I like to serve mine with the rice. So that's all lovely and sin-free. And you've got the rice, it's a free food. The chickpeas are protein-rich food, and the rest of the vegetable, it's a speed food. So you've got the Slimming World way. You've got a free food, speed food, and a protein-rich food all on a one plate. And there is more than a third of a plate is a speed food, so it's a win-win. And this recipe is also, you can freeze it. So what I tend to do, I tend to freeze 1 or 2 portions and then have them ready whenever I need them in a freezer. So if you're out and about and you need a quick meal, so you just remove it from a freezer. I would freeze it with the rice as well. So I'll show you later on. Actually, I'll show you one lunchbox how I made it. So then it's ready to take out. So instead of buying a ready-made meal, or when you're rushing about, you just have meal ready in a freezer. And this one is sin-free on the plan, as I said. And if you wanted to make it SP, you just don't serve it with the rice. You just have it as on its own. And in the recipe it's also said that you can put some fat-free natural yogurt, but I never really bothered. I just like it the way it is. So the yogurt will take the heat from the curry if you don't like it that hot. I'll put the recipe in the description box below, so I'll just type it and put it down, so if you want to have a look at it and recreate it your own way. And this is one of the lunchbox that I've just prepared. So in here, as you can see, I've got rice on one side and the curry on the other side. I'm just going to let it all cool down and then put the lid on, write a little label on it so I know next time when I take it out, I know what's in it, and freeze it. And it freezes for a couple of months, but it normally doesn't last in that long, so it'll last a few weeks, and within a few weeks I'll eat it. And also it's handy because sometimes when you cook more meals, so you cook a bigger meals, but you don't want to eat it 3 or 4 days in a row, so you just freeze one portion, and then next week you just feel like, oh, I fancy something different, so you just take out the portion that you froze the week before from a freezer and have a different meal in a week. So that's how I tend to vary my meals as well, just get the meal out of a freezer. So let's hope you enjoy it as well, the same way as I do. It's quick, easy, and it tastes delicious.